If you think surviving the Cretaceous period is just about dodging a T-Rex, you are already dead. You have a massive target on your back, and it isn't just coming from the teeth you can see. The fossil record tells a terrifying story of the Mesozoic Era. It was a world of microscopic killers, hyper-specialized ambush predators, and environmental hazards that would make a modern safari look like a trip to the zoo. Forget the Hollywood blockbuster monsters for a second. Let's talk about the silent, invisible, and truly bizarre ways you would actually meet your end. First, let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the swarm in the sky. If you traveled back to the late Cretaceous, around 75 million years ago, you wouldn't be killed by a claw. You'd be killed by a bite. Not from a dinosaur, but from a fly. Paleontologists have found amber deposits containing mosquitoes and biting midges filled with avian and dinosaur blood. These insects were carrying blood-borne pathogens. We are talking about prehistoric versions of malaria, West Nile, or even worse. You wouldn't need a T-Rex to stomp you. A single microscopic parasite could trigger a fever that would leave you delirious, immobile, and completely helpless in the middle of a predator-dense forest. You would be a sitting duck, literally. Now, let's move to the plants. Most people assume the flora of the dinosaur age was just giant ferns and conifers, but by the middle of the Cretaceous, flowering plants were exploding in diversity. Many of these early angiosperms were developing chemical defenses for the first time. They were evolving alkaloids and toxins to stop dinosaurs from eating them. If you get hungry and decide to snack on an unfamiliar bright red berry or a strange-looking root, you aren't just getting a stomachache. You are potentially ingesting compounds that haven't been studied by modern science. You could suffer from cardiac arrest or complete respiratory failure within minutes. In a world without medicine, a single bad meal is a death sentence. Then there is the issue of sheer physical scale. Even the herbivores were death traps. Take the Triceratops. It weighed about 6 to 12 tons. That is the weight of two large African elephants. If you are hiking through what is now Montana, you aren't just worrying about a predator, you are worrying about a nervous herbivore. A triceratops didn't need to be aggressive to kill you, it just needed to be startled. A single, panicked charge from a herd could turn a lush forest floor into a high-speed highway of crushing bone and muscle. You would be trampled into the mud before you even heard the ground shaking. You aren't a predator to them, you are a bug on the windshield of a speeding freight train. Let's talk about the water. You think the rivers are safe? Think again. We have found fossilized remains of Dinosuchus, a crocodilian that grew up to 35 feet long. These weren't your average swamp critters. They had bite forces estimated at 23,000 pounds per square inch. To put that in perspective, a modern great white shark has a bite force of about 4,000 psi. If you leaned down to take a sip of water from a riverbank, a Dinosuchus wouldn't even give you the dignity of a chase. It would be a blur of teeth and power from the murky depths. You wouldn't even see the ripples. One second you are thirsty, and the next you are simply gone from the fossil record. And then there are the raptors. I'm not talking about the movie versions. I'm talking about Deinonychus. These creatures were about 10 feet long and covered in feathers. They were pack hunters with retractable, sickle-shaped claws on their feet. These claws were designed for slashing and pinning prey. Unlike the T-Rex, which is a massive target you can see coming from a mile away, a raptor is silent, low to the ground, and incredibly intelligent. They hunted in coordinated groups. While you are watching the big predator in the distance, the raptors are flanking you through the tall brush. You wouldn't even know you were being hunted until you felt the first swipe of a 4-inch claw against your leg. But the most dangerous thing isn't the environment or the predators or the diseases. It is the atmosphere itself. During the late Cretaceous, oxygen levels were significantly higher than they are today. While that might sound like a refreshing breath of air, it actually creates a volatile environment. Lightning strikes in high oxygen, high biomass forests lead to massive, uncontrollable wildfires. These weren't just small patches of fire. They were infernos that could strip miles of land bare in hours. If you are trapped in a canyon when a fire hits, you aren't just dealing with the flames, you are dealing with the smoke, the lack of breathable air, and the panic of every animal in the region running in the exact same direction as you. Let's not forget the ground you walk on. The Mesozoic was a time of massive tectonic activity. You are dealing with active volcanism, shifting landscapes, and constant tremors. You could find yourself in an area that seems perfectly safe, only for a localized volcanic event to release a pocket of suffocating carbon dioxide. You wouldn't even see it coming. You would just grow sleepy, lose consciousness, and never wake up. It's an invisible, silent killer that doesn't care about your combat skills or your fancy weapons. So here is the reality check. The T-Rex is just a distraction. It's a loud, obvious threat that gets all the attention. But the real dangers of the Cretaceous were the ones that didn't need to roar. They were the parasites in the air, the toxins in the leaves, the weight of the herbivores, the shadows in the water, and the very chemistry of the planet itself. Living among dinosaurs wouldn't be an action movie. It would be a constant, grinding war against a world that was never designed for human survival. We are built for a world of climate stability and predictable ecology. The Mesozoic was a chaotic, high-energy, and completely alien ecosystem. If you ever found yourself dropped into the Cretaceous, your biggest mistake wouldn't be trying to fight a dinosaur. Your biggest mistake would be assuming you were the apex of anything at all. You would be a biological anomaly, a fragile, unadapted visitor in a world of giants. The next time you look at a museum display and wonder what it would be like to roam that world, remember that in the Cretaceous, survival wasn't about strength, it was about pure, dumb luck. And in a world that big, with creatures that dangerous, luck eventually runs out for everyone. Is humanity really built to survive the past, or were we just lucky to show up when the world was finally ready for us?